Hey guys, it's Mr. Tristan, and welcome to episode 2 of the Survivor 50 recap. Now, as I was uploading my last video, there was a part of the premiere that I completely forgot to talk about, so we'll talk about that real quick, and then we'll get to the actual episode. So the part that I forgot to mention was, at one point the tribes had to go on a journey, or pick somebody to go on a journey, and the 3 people that ended up going were Colby, Mike, and Savannah. So they had to draw rocks, and the odd rock out had to leave and go back to camp. Mike drew that rock, so he left, leaving Colby and Savannah to participate in the journey challenge. They had to stack these jagged-like pieces on a structure, and if the structure falls, when it's your turn, you lose. So Colby ended up losing the challenge, and he lost his vote, while Savannah gets a block vote. So yeah, that was all I completely forgot about. And now we're on to the episode. So the episode starts right where we left off, with Kyle being evacuated because of his injury. And his alliance with Q, Colby, Stephanie, and Genevieve were feeling kind of down about it. But they knew that they had to pick up the pieces, especially since Q and Colby don't have their votes. So they had to recruit more numbers in order to stay safe. And they end up recruiting Rizzo, which, I'm okay with. I liked Rizzo. So now we go to Sela, where one of the funniest moments ever shows. So Christian was working on the fire, and all of a sudden he has like this weird stance. And he's just like, I'll be right back. And we turn around, Joe sees that Christian crapped his pants. Christian had his own evacuation, if you will. And I'm just like, oh my god. And one of the funniest things that Christian said was, my wife is going to divorce me. And I'm like, over this? I doubt that. So we get to the reward challenge, and everybody is informed about Kyle's evacuation because of his injury. And we see Camilla breaking down in tears, which I don't blame her for, because, the two of them were very close in Survivor 48, and for someone to leave because of an injury, it's just depressing. Nobody deserves that. And then somehow we got to the conversation about the hero challenge in the premiere, and next thing you know, Coach ended up having some words for Ozzy for the way he told his tribe, like, how it went down. And Ozzy just continues to say that Coach is playing the same way he did in South Pacific. Like, when's Ozzy getting voted out? Seriously? Because at this point, I'm just fed up with him. I've been fed up with him before, but now, he's just not providing anything. He's just boring. So after the reward challenge, it ends up being Callow and Sela winning reward, which I believe was fishing gear, fishing equipment, leaving Vatu to go back to camp with their sour coconuts. Speaking of Vatu, Aubrey ends up talking about how she crashed out at some point during her first time playing, and she's more in tune with her emotions. Meanwhile, Genevieve and the whole alliance had suspicions about Aubrey possibly having the boomerang idol, which Genevieve found in the previous episode. So while Q and Colby are on the lookouts and Stephanie is out talking to Aubrey on the beach, Genevieve decides to search her bag. And she ends up finding nothing, which was kind of expected. So on Callow, Jonathan and Coach are going out in the ocean, fishing, and Coach ended up getting some massive cramps in his calves, which... Have any of you ever laid down in bed and all of a sudden you start to stretch, and then at some point you actually start to feel cramps in your legs? Yeah, I know how bad those cramps are. Luckily, there were safety swimmers out there to help Coach get back to shore, because the guy couldn't even move when he was in the water. And that's not a good sign. So, and people, I guess, were roasting Coach about him being older and how his body's not how it used to be. Even Coach knows that. But Coach is not in any danger whatsoever right now, because Chrissy is rubbing people the wrong way with her over-the-top mothering. Even Charlie talks about how, he liked working with older women. And I thought to myself, dude, the last time you worked with an older woman, she cost you $1 million. So yeah, he was like saying like, as much as he wants to work with Chrissy, it's probably not a good idea for his game because it would just put a target on his back. So on Sela, Savannah is still lying about her block vote, which I don't blame her for. And then there were talks about Savannah, Ozzy, and Rick being a trio. But Rick's not really interested in that because he already has a close relationship with Christian and Emily. As far as who the next target is going to be for Sela, initially, the only name out there was Ozzy, which, I mean, duh. However, Joe is also starting to rub people the wrong way with his paranoia. The reason Joe has gotten so paranoid is because the whole secret alliance between Kyle and Camilla from last time kind of messed with his head, and so he's all paranoid about secret alliances, which really, that's just rubbing his tribe the wrong way. Also on Sela, Christian ends up finding the Billie Eilish boomerang idol, and he was thinking, who's he going to give it to? And at one point, he thought about giving it to Angelina just for the memes. But he ends up giving it to Aubrey, who also might have another chance to stay in the game because while half the tribe is, well, more than half the tribe is like, out there working, grabbing some food or catching food for the tribe, it seemed that Rizzo and Angelina are really not doing much of anything. So, safe to say, if they have to go to tribal, it could be one of them going out. Which brings us to the immunity challenge. So in the immunity challenge, they were doing this thing with like the giant snakes and then this rolling a ball on a maze thing. It's basically what we saw in 49. So I don't really know how to explain it, nor do I really want to explain it right now because there's just not enough time. So Vatu ends up winning as kind of like justice for Kyle. And then Kaulo comes in second, meaning Sela would be going right back to tribal. So as they were getting ready for tribal, there were 3 names on the board: Ozzy, Savannah, and Joe. Now Sari has managed to get Ozzy's name out of the running by convincing other people that they should vote for Savannah, because Savannah has an advantage that they don't know about. Plus, she did win, which is good enough also good enough reason to vote her out. However, Joe is still getting on people's nerves, specifically Rick and Christian. And even Sari is saying she'd be on board with voting for Joe. And at that point, I started thinking, please don't be Joe. I would have been okay if they voted out Ozzy or Savannah, but I really wouldn't want it to be Joe. Meanwhile, Christian tells Rick about him finding the Billie Eilish boomerang idol, and they put together this scheme to put the parchment for that idol and hide it at tribal council, which I've never heard of that being done. So when they get to tribal council, I start to get very scared, thinking that Joe's going to be the one voted out, because everyone is tired of how Joe plays the game. Joe plays the game with as much loyalty as he can, which may have worked on a past season, but on a season like this, people don't really care that much about loyalty. Oh, and I almost forgot. Before they went to tribal, Ozzy ends up giving Sari his extra vote, which is the first time Sari ever had any sort of advantage on Survivor. So that's a big deal for Sari. So when they go to vote, I once again expect Joe's name to come up, and it turns out that the vote was Ozzy getting 1 vote from Savannah and everybody else voting for Savannah, and Savannah ends up being the next person voted out. Now, I would have much rather be Ozzy than Savannah, but another winner is out, which means the only winner left on Survivor 50 is D. So how is D gonna fare well with the other two winners being out? I don't know. We'll have to find out. And as they were leaving Tribal, Christian and Rick began their little scheme, with Christian tripping and falling on the ground. And while everybody else is distracted with Christian on the ground, Rick takes the parchment and hides it somewhere in Tribal Council. Not gonna lie, when I saw that, I was like, ah, genius. So that's it for our recap of Survivor 50, Episode 2. What I thought about it, it was better than the premiere. I know that much. You know, I'm not as sad with the Tribal Council vote as I was when Jenna got voted out. And also, I ended up seeing that the next episode has a tribe swap. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen when the tribes get swapped up. I did see in one of the pictures that the 3 returnees from David versus Goliath, Christian, Angelina, and Mike, are all together. So that leaves a few questions. Are they all going to work together? Are they not going to work together? Is the rest of the tribe going to see that, view them as a threat, and try to go after one of them? I don't know. We'll have to find out when the next episode comes out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.